Hello, everyone. My name is Makeda Valletta, also known as the Renaissance Amazon and the Body Scientist. And I hope you all are doing well today. In case you're unfamiliar with me, I am an exercise physiologist, a strength and conditioning coach, sports nutritionist. I have a holistic approach to health and fitness and bringing our body to its highest level. Um, and I also have another YouTube page, The Body Scientist 81, that you should check out because on that page I get really into a lot of the science behind health and fitness and nutrition. Okay. So I hope all of you are staying safe in the midst of this COVID pandemic, and I wanted to have a real conversation today. Okay. Because I see a lot of people acting as if this whole situation is exaggerated, and people think that the media is overhyping things and that the government is lying to us. And I do think that the government is not telling us the full truth, but I don't think that they're over telling us. I think they're under telling us, okay? They're under telling us how serious this is because they don't want people to panic, okay? I see a lot of people accusing Americans of panicking and panic buying and hysteria. And I can tell you, I'm in Chicago. I don't see panic at all here, okay? Actually, the beaches and the parks were closed here a couple of weeks ago. And I live right by the beach and all these parks. There are tons of people outside. There are more people outside now than there were before. Okay, there's people, every park I pass is packed. I didn't even see parks with that many people, some of these parks. And the beach yesterday was full of people. And I'm like, the mayor sent an alert to all of our phones telling us that all of the parks, beaches, lakefronts were closed. Okay. When I go, I've seen people posting pictures in LA and New York where they're like waiting on a line to get in the supermarket. It hasn't been like that. Not in the supermarkets I've gone to. The Whole Foods that I go to in my neighborhood, there's no line to get in. Most people are not wearing masks. I would say maybe like 5% of people in Chicago are wearing masks, and that includes in the supermarkets. Now, I'm from New York, and I haven't been to New York. I left New York on March 9th. But from people that I'm talking to in New York, there's also a good amount of people in the parks. They had to take down the basketball hoops. I just saw people playing basketball today in a couple of places. Okay, so if anything, I think that a lot of people aren't taking it seriously enough, and they're not thinking about all of the possible consequences, all the possible negative consequences that can come from out of this in a domino effect. I also see a lot of people on social media like, oh, I'm so tired. How come we don't hear about the good news? How come we don't hear about the people who are recovering? And that's actually not true. Anybody who watches the news, they definitely are telling you those things, and they're all those stories, okay? There's lots of positive stories in the midst of all of this. But the fact of the matter is, this is very serious, and it's going to have lasting repercussions beyond what a lot of us may be thinking right now. Okay, I did a video last week on my other page, The Body Scientist 81, where I was talking about preparing for food shortages, okay, because they're coming. And there will also be probably shortages of a lot of other things besides food. Like, for example, I personally think that this lockdown is going to last longer than the end of April, okay? It may last a couple months. And we may have another cycle of this again, okay? There may be another wave of this in the fall. We don't know, okay? And then we have to also think about all the other emergencies that could possibly happen. What if there are really bad natural disasters this year? We still have hurricane season. California be burning. Earthquakes happen. We don't know other things that could happen this year in the near future that can tax our system and our resources. Now, we get so many things from China, and for a long time, I've had a problem with that. I don't trust things from China. I think that the Chinese sell us a lot of poisonous, toxic things. They're bleaching their garlic and selling people plastic rice and selling. And I keep seeing stories of different countries that have bought medical equipment from China and tests from China in the midst of this pandemic, and it hasn't worked, okay? Chinese selling faulty tests that are giving a whole bunch of false negatives when people are actually positive, okay? And so I did a video on the testing, and there are issues with the testing. And that's also my page, The Body Scientist 81. I don't think it's on this page. But there are issues with the testing, okay? And there are a lot of tests that are actually coming back negative. There's also a lot of people who are dying who are not being counted, okay? There are a lot of people who are dying from COVID alone in their homes, because the way that people are dying right now in the hospitals, once they get into the hospital, they can no longer see their family. I mean, who wants to die like that? And a lot of times the hospital can't do anything for you. So there are a lot of people who are staying at home and dying alone, and there are many stories about mothers being found, dead next to, the baby next to them, and a lot of stories like that, okay? And everybody that dies, they're not giving them a COVID test, all right? When you listen to the EMTs and stuff like that in New York, they say like 100% of their calls, like 99% of their emergency calls are COVID related, okay? And they're not really even getting calls for other emergencies like that. And the 911 is jam-packed, all right? You have I don't know, the last time I checked a couple of days ago, there were 1,200 NYPD officers that were sick from COVID. There are thousands of transit workers in New York who are sick and at home because of COVID. So what happens when, there's a lot of black people who love to hate on the police, but what happens when there's no police around? There's not enough police to, help people. And you have more people who are hungry and not making money and don't have food, and they start getting vicious, robbing people, attacking people. And you have no police to call, right? So being able to protect yourself is going to be really important, and that there's a lot that goes into that, because you have a lot of vulnerable people. You have women, you have children, you have elderly, you have single moms. And even if a mom is not a single mom, even if she has a man, he may not be there at the moment. Things have the potential to get buck wild, because if this lockdown lasts for a couple more months, which it very well may, and then we start having shortages because there are issues with borders and trade. There's so much that's coming from China that there's a supply chain issue with that, because there are a lot of people who don't want to support China anymore. So it's like, okay, well then we have to make these things. We have to find other resources. And just with borders, that's a big deal. I saw a story about some flower farmers in Costa Rica that had to destroy $35 million worth of flowers because of flights being canceled and the border issues. A lot of the food, and not just the food, but a lot of the items that we get are from another country, okay? And so that will create an issue. So what happens if people go to the store and they can't find a lot of basic things? And this is the reason why when people accuse people of hoarding, I'm like, maybe those people have the foresight to see ahead. That you are believing what they're saying, it's only going to be a 2-week lockdown. You're believing what the government's saying when they say it's going to be okay. Maybe there are people who have the foresight to see ahead, and they're preparing, okay? When you see empty shelves in the supermarket, it's not because everybody bought everything up. There are already supply issues, okay? Even look at the medical equipment around the world. The whole world needs more of everything. In the hospitals, you have not just a ventilator issue, they also are lacking tubes for the ventilators, okay, the tubing. They're lacking the medication that you need to sedate people, because when you put somebody on a ventilator, it's serious. So they have to be sedated, because otherwise they may fight the ventilator because they have tubes down their throat and the machine mechanically making them breathe, and it doesn't feel natural or right or comfortable. And if they are not sedated and they try to fight the machine or something, they'll instantly die. It takes very skilled technicians to even operate a ventilator. So if you have healthcare workers getting sick, healthcare workers dying, it takes many years to train highly skilled doctors, nurses, and medical professionals. So we start losing people like that. Then what happens when people have other emergencies that are non-COVID related, and there aren't people there to help? There aren't medical workers there to help. They don't have the equipment to help. Somebody might need a ventilator because they got into a car accident, but in the midst of a pandemic, there may not be one around. So then there could be many deaths because of COVID, not even because the person had the virus, but just because they got caught up in those circumstances, okay? So, and that includes, domestic violence and all other kinds of things where people just can't help you anymore. This is serious. We have to think about that, and medical professionals being sick and dying, not being able to help people, and we have to think beyond COVID, just other things that could be happening. Somebody's baby could be sick, and there's no doctor. Nobody to help. And also, if the people who I'm always talking about, like my approach to nutrition is very holistic. So I'm always talking about why it's important to get your food from the farmer's market, local sources, sustainable agriculture is so important. Because a lot of the food, people want to go crazy over these Popeyes chicken sandwiches. And I did a video on this page, the Renaissance Amazon. I did a page called The Truth Behind the Chicken Sandwiches. And you should check that video out because I'm talking about the issues with the food system, the workers, the conditions, and all the multi-layered things when it comes to black people and migrant workers. There's a lot of issues. And the thing about it, and definitely check that video out. But the thing about it is you have a lot of, when you're talking about the commercial food industry where you have a low quality food anyway, animals that are stressed out and grown in inhumane conditions, filled up with pesticides, herbicides, antibiotics, hormones. The animals are stressed out and sick, and so are the people who are working on those plantations or commercial food farms. And that food is not very nutritious; it's highly toxic, right? But if you're getting food from the commercial food industry, so you're eating at Denny's and you're eating at Burger King and you're eating at Chick-fil-A and you're eating, you're going out food shopping at Walmart and basic places, you're eating food from the commercial food industry. A lot of that food comes from outside the country as well, okay, or is picked and handled by migrant workers. So if you don't have the migrant workers, the hands to actually do this, okay, and you also have border issues and you have workers getting sick or just not able to get here, then how are we going to get food, right? You're going to go to the supermarket and there's going to be lots of things that you're not going to see. We also have to consider the environment. There's been a lot of droughts and, fires and this and that. What happens, things growing is very dependent on the sun, the rain cycles. What happens if something, or a virus goes through the meat supply? And the people have to, burn tons of meat or things aren't growing. We have to think about all those things and prepare for it, okay? Because this is there are far-reaching consequences to this situation. Okay, so let me make sure I say everything. Where's my notes? Oh yeah, other thing with the food system. You have the truckers who have to bring the food. If you had a whole bunch of truckers who were sick, the whole thing, a lot of people who are not understanding the lockdown and why it's important, because this virus is highly infectious. It's not like the flu. Despite what they tried to say at first, that's not true, okay? It is not like the flu. Hold on, let me see if I can add this extra light because it's getting dark. Yes, this is way more infectious than the flu. Okay, the flu is not. If you don't show symptoms, you're not having symptoms. You're not infectious. With COVID, people cannot be showing any symptoms at all, and they're infecting tons of people. And its ability to infect people is much more vicious. Okay, and aggressive. So, and then it's a lot more devastating because first of all, you don't want to end up on a ventilator. Okay, because when you are on a ventilator, on average, people are on it for 3 days to a week, okay? COVID patients are on it for 3 weeks on average. And the longer you're on it, the greater your chance of having a negative outcome is. So about 70-something% of the people going on ventilators are dying, maybe 80%, okay? So there are a few who are recovering, but not many. So, if you have, if there wasn't, lockdowns, this virus would spread even faster because it is already very infectious. So we have an issue where you have truckers who are not available to drive the food on the trucks. You don't have the hands to pick the food. Okay, you don't have the workers. You have border issues. We could have gasoline shortages. Okay, and all of that will affect the ability for not just food to be restocked, but other items. Like, because I need to lift weights, okay, and I know that I'm probably not going to be able to go to the gym until June or July, who knows, right? I tried to order my own workout equipment so I can work out at home. And I actually need weights. I can't just do the bands, right? So I'll damn near almost order a squat rack. If I didn't have this pole in the way, I would have ordered a squat rack. But I ordered some other equipment like a trap bar squat, trap deadlift bar. And I'm trying to find 45-pound weight plates. And I could not find 45-pound weight plates anywhere. I looked at every sporting good website, Walmart, Amazon. Nobody had them. They were, and they're expensive. You might have to spend like $100 for one 45-pound weight plate. They're really expensive, and nobody had them. Then I'm looking for the Bowflex. There are these block weights. So these dumbbells that are blocks. They go from 5 to 52 pounds, and you can adjust the weight. So if you only want 10 pounds, you put it on 10, you pick it up. If you want 30 pounds, you put it on 30, you pick it up, and the rest of the weight stays on the ground. So you don't have to have a million dumbbells in your house. This costs like $350, but on Amazon, it's all $700-800 now, and then they're not going to deliver it to you until like the end of May, and I'm not paying $700 for that. Then I look on the Bowflex website; it's completely sold out. You find another website, they tell you they're on back order, you won't get it to the summer, and I'm like, oh my god! Like either nobody has it, or the price is doubled, or you have to wait until the summertime to get it. And so I didn't think that there would be a shortage on stuff like that, And for all we know, that shit could come from China. I don't know, but I wasn't expecting to not be able to find weights. Okay. Then on my Instagram, I'm constantly getting little ads for buying little workout equipment, and on Instagram, and I wouldn't trust any of those little ads. There's a lot of scammers. I feel like there's going to be a lot more scammers. I already felt that, but I'm starting to hear stories that there's an increase of online scams now because of this. So I'm not trying to order no workout equipment off of no Instagram ad. The more scams there are, more people are going to be losing money. So people, it's like, are going to have to be very cautious of all this. We're going into desperate times, all right? There may be a lot of people whose jobs never come back at all. So these are all things that, consequences of this whole situation, which is I think is way more serious than people even realize, especially when you're talking about international borders. And it's important to stay fit in this situation, because this is the reason why I always took care of myself, and I was always into working out and being strong, not just for show, but actually being strong. I could pull myself up. I could jump on top of some shit. I can run fast. I got agility. I got good balance. I don't have good eyesight. So in an emergency, if somebody smacked my glasses off, that would be an issue. But you just want to, make sure your body's capable. And health is if it's ever been important, it's important right now, okay? Eating the best foods you possibly can. And a lot of people are stocking up on crap. And that's what lowers your immune system, So, I am not about, being overly dramatic, but I think it's important to be realistic, okay? And for those people who are preparing, I think it's unfair to call them hoarders and selfish, because we never know people's story. You don't know how many family members they have in their house. You don't know if they have a lot of elderly people that, they may be getting stuff for, so they could be okay. Because there are people who are from countries where toilet paper is a freaking, luxury, and it's not just everywhere. I've been to countries where you go to the bathroom, especially in a public place, and they're rationing you out a few squares of toilet paper that you have to pay for. Okay, toilet paper is not just liberal. And again, we have to remember that so many things that we get is coming from another country. So what happens when there's border issues? All right? So there's a lot of things that I think that people need to think about when it comes to long-term preparation. Okay? How they're going to live and survive. Because this could very well last much longer than we think. And I think that it will. Let's stop being selfish. I'm especially tired of black people saying, oh, black people aren't really dying, and it's exaggerated. Because if you look at the stats in Chicago and New Orleans, 70% of the people who are dying, or a little bit over 70%, are black. When the population of the city of black people is like 30-something percent. Okay? The population of blacks in Louisiana, like 33% or something, you know? And they're like 70-something percent of the deaths. And there's many reasons for that. I did a video yesterday on why so many young, healthy people are dying. I did this on my other YouTube page, The Body Scientist 81. And I will do a video soon about the black community because I have a lot to say about that too. There are a lot of underlying health problems. But there's a lot of underlying health problems in a lot of people, not just black people. Okay? But we especially know that's true in the Afro-American community. I'm trying to make sure I said everything. So yeah, we have to think, you know, when people are just like, oh, you know, it's not that many people dying and more people die from the flu, that's not true. The death rate from the flu is about 0.1%. The death rate from this COVID is not quite known, depending on how you're doing the math. It's anywhere between 1 to 2%. 1 to 2% is a lot more than 0.1%. And 1 to 2% sounds small when you're talking about percentage, but it's not small when you're talking about numbers of people. That's huge, okay? And it can be worse than that if we weren't on lockdowns, okay? And even the lockdowns, I mean, for me looking in Chicago, it don't look that serious, you know? And I've seen videos in New York that were packed. I mean, videos in New York of the trains being packed. And a lot of it is because there's less trains. They shorten the service because of the lockdown, because lots of transit workers being sick. And so because of that, now there's more people on the trains. And so, you know, we can only see how things happen over time. But I think that it's not smart for people to say, oh, well, people in this place, you know, in this country aren't really getting sick. And black people over here or over here where it's hot, like we have to let it all play out. We don't know. People do get colds and flus in the summer. Okay? But this is a new virus. Okay? It's a new virus that a lot of people's bodies, you know, none of us are used to. And a lot of people's immune system is not suboptimal. Make sure you check out my videos on that topic, okay? I'm going to go because I'm losing my light. I actually had recorded this video yesterday on IG and thought I had recorded it for here, but it didn't record. So hopefully this recorded. Make sure you check out some of my other videos. I'll post some below on this YouTube video. If you don't follow me on IG, make sure you follow me at the_Renaissance_Amazon_81. And if you like the video, like it, please share it, and take care, people. All right.